Hello and welcome back to Eurofootball Daily, where today we are running down a list of 10 teams who are set to improve in Europe this season. Let's get started. 10. Lyon. I know what you are thinking. How are Lyon going to take the Champions League by storm when they have just lost €128 million worth of talent in Fekir, Ndombele and Mendy? Well, firstly, having been in pot 3, they have been handed a very favourable draw of Zenit, who haven't been out of the groups in 3 years, Benfica, who have only won 5 games in the same period, and RB Leipzig. And whilst Die Roten Bullen are clear favourites, we believe that some of their key men's form could make them outsiders this time. Memphis Depay has started the season with 4 goals and an assist at an average of a goal contribution every 72 minutes, with his shots per 90 now at a frightening 4.5. 27-year-old Thiago Mendes, signed this summer from Lille, has taken to Lyon life like a duck to water. He has matched 4.8 tackles and interceptions with 1.5 key passes per 90, leading to 3 assists. 43% of Ndombele's total from last season already. With a Messi masterclass the only thing that stood between them and a last 8 slot last season, we wouldn't bet against Lyon finally reaching their first quarter-final since 2009-10 this time. Before we go on to our next section, don't forget to subscribe to Eurofootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a video. 9. Borussia Mönchengladbach. Borussia Mönchengladbach made a return to European competition in 2019-20 after a 3-year absence. And despite letting go of their best player in the summer, fans of the German club still have reason to be optimistic. Last season, Die Fulham finished in the Bundesliga top 6 for the first time since 2016, with Torgan Hazard hitting double figures for goals and assists, and manager Dieter Hecking ending his 2.5-year association with the club on a high. Both have now left, but while Hazard's output will be hard to replace, Marco Rose is arguably an upgrade in the dugout, and has an excellent recent record in the Europa League. After leading the Red Bull Salzburg under-19s to UEFA Youth League glory in 2017, the young coach took the senior side to the Europa League semi-finals the following season, beating Borussia Dortmund and Lazio on the way. And in 2018-19, Salzburg lost just twice in the league, and won every game in a group containing RB Leipzig and Brendan Rodgers' Celtic, before narrowly losing to Napoli in the last 16 of Europe's secondary competition. Rose has been handed another tough hand this time, with Roma and Istanbul Başakşehir making up 2/3 of their group stage opponents. However, exciting young players such as Dennis Zakaria have stayed put at Borussia Park this summer, and new signings Marcus Thuram, Breel Mbolo and Stefan Lehner are making promising starts to their time in Germany. The form of these 3 youngsters make Gladbach's outside bets for this year's competition. 8. Atalanta. The 2018-19 season was a historic one for fans of Atalanta. La Dea achieved their highest ever Serie A finish, made the Coppa Italia final for the first time since 1996, and got 28 goals out of loan signing Duvan Zapata. The Italian club have become a force under Gasperini, scoring 77 league goals last season at a rate of over 2 a game, more than anyone else and 7 more than champions Juventus. And while Brian Cristante's move to Roma after a loan spell there last year is a big loss in midfield, the incoming Luis Muriel is providing an excellent addition up front, already scoring twice off the bench to bolster the club's Colombian striking contingent. Gasperini's side face Man City in their Champions League group, which should be a fascinating encounter given the free-scoring tendencies of the 2 teams. And whilst we expect the English champions' defensive superiority means they should see off the Italians, Shakhtar Donetsk and Dinamo Zagreb are more manageable tasks. Should Atalanta keep up their 18-19 form, we could see them make a shock run to the quarter-finals. 7. RB Leipzig. Perhaps the most talked about club in Europe right now, RB Leipzig have started the 19-20 campaign in electric form. At the time of recording, the German club have won 3 from 3 in the Bundesliga, are top of the league and are ready to host Bayern Munich in an early test of their title credentials. Meanwhile, an evenly matched Champions League group containing Zenit, Lyon and Benfica presents new manager Julian Nagelsmann with a perfect opportunity to make the UCL knockouts for the first time in his career. The most accomplished young coach on the continent, Nagelsmann has taken charge of a squad with ridiculous potential. The average squad age is less than 23, new signings such as Nkunku are bedding in quickly, and Timo Werner is entering his peak years, with his current expected goals of 1.2 per 90, around double of what it was last season. Not only are Leipzig one of the most forward-thinking and well-organised teams in Europe this term, they are also one of the most energetic. And if Nagelsmann can manage his squad well, they could be this season's answer to Ajax. 6. Paris Saint-Germain. One of the constant narratives of this decade has been Paris Saint-Germain's perennial failure to make a Champions League semi-final, let alone win the competition, a feat which has remained a top priority for Qatar Sports Investment since they took over the club in 2011. Amazingly, the French giants haven't even reached the quarter since 2016, despite adding Neymar and Mbappe to their attack. Furthermore, their recent record has included second-leg capitulations at the hands of Barcelona and Man United, giving them a reputation as Champions League bottlers. However, this campaign led Parisiens have a squad better equipped to tackle Europe's premier competition, with midfield steel to match their firepower up top. Signing the super experienced Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera, two of Europe's top tacklers last season, not only adds more depth to Thomas Tuchel's squad, but will also make the side much tougher to break down against top opposition. Couple this with the additions of Pablo Sarabia and Mauro Icardi, and the German manager has a wealth of options to choose from when everyone's fit. If only they'd signed a couple of top-class fullbacks, PSG would be looking like a similar proposition to Klopp's Liverpool. Even so, we're still backing them to at least beat their personal best in the Champions League. 5. Wolves. If you're one of the tiny minority of our fans who are over the age of 50, you may remember Wolves getting to the final of the first ever UEFA Cup in 1972, when they lost to Tottenham over 2 legs. In fact, it took until this year for another all-English final in Europe's secondary tournament. Since those heady days, the Black Country club have generally been in decline, with no major silverware since the League Cup in 1980, and no participation in European competition since 1981. Fast forward to 2019 and Wolves are a club reborn, under new ownership for 3 years now, with the spending power to attract top-quality talent from around the continent. This newfound wealth, coupled with smart investment and an excellent manager, saw the club finish the 18-19 campaign in 7th, the highest placing for a newly promoted side in the English top flight since Ipswich came 5th in 2001. Not only that, but they can count themselves as favourites in a Europa League group containing Besiktas, Slovan Bratislava and Braga. While they are yet to win a game in the Premier League, Nuno Espirito Santo's men impressed in the preliminaries, beating a very decent Torino side in the 3rd qualifying round. If his defence can get back to the level of solidity shown last season, Wolves will be a super tough opponent over 2 legs. They could go far. 4. Barcelona. Messi may have first promised that Barcelona would do all that they can to bring that beautiful trophy back to the Camp Nou last season, before going on to contribute a quite frankly a ridiculous 15 goals in 10 games, at an average of a goal involvement every 56 minutes. But ultimately it wasn't enough, as Barcelona once again failed to even reach the final. When they surrendered a 4-1 first-leg lead in Rome in 2018, it felt like an aberration, a complete fluke result. But when lightning struck twice with their equally humbling defeat to Liverpool in May, a major summer overhaul was instigated. In came the hugely promising Frankie de Jong, orchestrator of Ajax's extraordinary run to the semi-finals last season, followed by Junior Firpo from Real Betis to finally offer competition for Jordi Alba. But as important as the addition of de Jong was, Antoine Griezmann is the player acquired with the sole aim of improving on their record of 1 final in the last 8 seasons. Whilst Luis Suarez is still more than capable of destroying domestic defences, his fading physical capabilities have seen him score just 5 Champions League goals in his last 29 appearances. Whereas the former Atleti man, despite often playing as number 10, has contributed 18 goals in his last 28 games in the competition. The frivolous pursuit of Neymar aside, Barcelona have strengthened in all areas. There are now no excuses for not reaching their first final for 5 years in 2020. 3. Sevilla. Having won 3 consecutive Europa League titles between 2014 and 2016 under Unai Emery, a period of instability in which Sevilla have played under 5 different managers has led to a downturn in their European performances, with the Champions League quarter-final defeat to Bayern Munich in 2018 their best since. Last year's 4-3 defeat away from home to Sparta Prague in the Europa League last 16 was the final nail in the coffin for Pablo Machín. But after a summer of great upheaval in which they spent €158 million, hopes are high for this season's Europa campaign. Yes, they have lost Wissam Ben Yedder, their top scorer for the last 3 seasons, and Pablo Sarabia, contributor of 14 goals and 14 assists in the League and Champions League in 18-19, but €40 million is a good price for a 29-year-old, and some of their other business looks very tasty. In terms of forwards, they've added the experienced Chicharito, along with Muniz de Boer and Luuk de Jong, who scored 69 goals between them last season, and Ronnie Lopez, who up until last season was one of the most promising young players in Europe. Throw into the mix Joan Jordan, Sergio Reguilon, and a coach of the quality of Julen Lopetegui, and their solid La Liga form, and Sevilla are going to be a serious Europa League proposition this term. 2. Bayern Munich. It's been a source of much internal embarrassment that since winning the 2013 Champions League, Bayern Munich have won 6 league titles, 2 German Cups, and spent over €540 million, but have so far failed to reach the final again, yet alone win it. That might sound like a huge amount, but in comparison to the winners of the competition since, it's an absolute pittance, with Liverpool spending €776 million, Real Madrid €927, and Barcelona a massive €1,204 million in that time. But Bayern's comparable passivity in the transfer market evaporated this summer, as they released Rafinha, Robben and Ribery with a combined age of 104, and brought in some of the best young talent in Germany in Fettup, Cousins and Pavard. Not only that, but they added another World Cup winner in Lucas Hernandez and the star quality of Philippe Coutinho, who despite being far from his best still operated at 0.53 expected goals and assists per 90 in 18-19. Even though we can't help thinking Leroy Sané would have made all the difference, Perisic is a perfectly able one-season stopgap. And with Kingsley Coman back to full fitness supporting Lewandowski, currently averaging a goal every 45 minutes, Bayern surely have their best chance in years. 1. Manchester City. Surely this is their year. After 2 seasons, 198 points, 201 goals and 5 trophies, Man City must surely be favourites to end their European hoodoo this campaign. In 17-18, a 30-minute meltdown at Anfield effectively saw them knocked out, and a year later, only a goal that would no longer stand and a last-minute VAR decision saw them exit at the hands of Spurs. But after firing off 17.7 shots per game, second only to Real Madrid, and having conceded 9.7 shots a game, second only to Atletico Madrid, it's clear that Man City, despite their 2 defeats, were as close as possible to the perfect side last campaign. Add to that João Cancelo, one of the best attacking right-backs in Europe, to compete with Kyle Walker and Rodri to begin phasing out Fernandinho, and you have a very complete squad. But Pep's roster is already being pushed to its limits. Leroy Sané, contributor of 8 Champions League goals in 18-19, is out until at least February, and Laporte, their best defender, is out for 3 months, leaving Stones and Otamendi as their only out-and-out centre-backs. If they can minimise the damage caused by these 2 absentees until at least February, Man City will surely be favourites to finally lift the Big Ear trophy. So that was our rundown of 10 teams to watch out for in Europe this season. What did you guys think of the list? Did I miss any out? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, check out all our other content such as Stat Wars and Continental Club, and I'll see you next time.